What's up guys, Josiah LaRue here. So today we're going to be talking about some of the latest news and technology, including information from Apple and from Google. So yeah, I know I haven't done one of these latest news and technology shows in a while, so here we go. We'll be wrapping up some of the latest stuff that's happened in the last couple weeks. So last week, Google had their big Google I/O Developers Conference, where they released information about upcoming Android Gear and Android operating system itself. So first off, they demonstrated Android Wear, which they had actually talked about a couple weeks earlier, but then actually brought out what Android Wear is going to embody. Now, Samsung has their Galaxy Gear Live, LG has their LG G Watch, and then Motorola, now a Google company, is the Motorola 360. Now, the Samsung Gear Live watch is very similar to the other Gear products that they've released earlier, only that instead of the thinner displays, it has a square one, kind of like a Pebble smartwatch, but it's actually a LCD color display and it's running Android Wear, which is a skinned down version of Android. The LG G2 is pretty much similar to the Samsung Gear, but is running a little bit differently and has some different features. And finally, the Motorola 360, probably really the star of the show, in that it looks more classical. It looks like a watch. It is in fact a rounded screen like you would see on a traditional watch. Instead of the square displays, it looks like you're wearing a screen on your wrist. And in normal mode, it looks like an analog clock face. So if you just look at it, it looks like a thicker, old-time watch, which is really cool. And then you flick over to the side and it's got the rounded display, but running Android Wear. So you got all your Android notifications and everything, which is pretty dang cool. Google also went on to introduce a couple other new things. First off was Android TV. Android is really looking to get in the TV market, and so far they just haven't been able to hack it against their competitors like the Amazon Fire TV, the Apple TV, or the Roku 2 box, etc. They already have Chromecast, which if you saw my last review, is a really nice device, and for the price you can't really beat it, but it doesn't have the full features to really compete with the Apple TV or the Kindle or whatever. They tried a couple set-top boxes a couple years ago from providers like Samsung or Asus, but those just really failed. So they're coming back again with Android TV, a skinned-down Android operating system that they want third parties to put on devices. It looks very similar to the Apple TV, more kind of like the Kindle Fire because that is running Android, but you browse through it. It displays TV, it displays information from third parties like Netflix and Hulu, and I'm guessing Amazon, and other ones like that. But also, like Amazon Fire, you can game on it, so you can play Android games on your TV. So, I don't know, the Kindle Fire is already doing that, so are they going to be able to produce something that people are going to want to buy outside of the already pretty smoothed down Amazon infrastructure? I mean, I guess if you're already buying a lot of stuff on Google Play Store, you know, whether it's movies or books or music or apps or whatever, it should flow smoothly. So I mean, it's another companion to the ecosystems that are already out there, but is it going to succeed? Well, we'll have to see. The only person who's officially come out and said that they're going to support this is Razer, which is kind of an interesting choice because you know that their hardware is going to be good but pretty expensive and more towards gaming more than TV stuff. So it'll be interesting to see. And Razer is supposed to come out with some sort of finalized version this fall. So stay tuned for that. And really the last big thing, kind of the star of the show, was Android L. Yeah. That's their new version, or so far the prototype name for the next version of Android. Which, if you kind of look at it, I think that Android L means Android Life. Because what they're trying to do is really compete with iOS. I think they saw Apple's press conference and they're like, we better step up and answer to this, otherwise we're going to be left behind. So what they have done is almost matched Apple nearly verse for verse and feature for feature and trying to provide competition for their features. So first off, Android L is a huge reskinning of Android KitKat. That's probably one of the biggest things, is that it's not as many features as just reskinned, very much like iOS 7 was to iOS 6 and iOS 8 is to iOS 7. Reskinning already rock solid software. So, the biggest thing, transparencies, layers. Yes, very much trying to create a Android feeling iOS, I think. From what I've seen from developer pictures and stuff, it looks very much like that. They're stacking stuff, they're enabling transparencies, they're doing shadows. It's a more flattened interface. So we'll see, maybe people like it, maybe people won't. Another big UI change is navigation buttons on the bottom. Gone are the days of the weird squiggly arrow, the home looks like a home icon, and then the sometimes round or other ones that would mean the multitasker. All that's down there now is a left-facing triangle, a circle for your home button, and a square for your multitasker. Very simple, very clean, but also a big change for anyone who's been using Android for a really long time. So we'll see how people like it. Another interesting thing is call awareness. Yep, that's right. Now if you're getting calls or texts or other notifications on your phone, it'll show up on your Chromebook. Sounds very familiar to, oh yeah, iOS 8 and OS X Yosemite. Good job. I'm going to be really surprised if there's not some sort of lawsuit over that, because that is literally copying it word for word, feature for feature, but we'll see. Another interesting thing is on the lock screen is that you can just swipe up, and instead of having to like pull your thumb over and like ignite it over a ring to unlock it or whatever, just swipe up and it automatically unlocks. And then if you're still on the lock screen, you can swipe to the left and it'll bring up the camera sliding over from the right. And so there you go, you have your camera. And then going back to the lock screen, you can swipe to the right, and then coming over from the left is the phone dialer. So you don't really have to go into your, swipe up, go into your phone and pull out the dialer. There it is, right there, which is pretty cool. And a feature that I would kind of like Apple to do, but I can see why Apple does it because they're focused more on privacy. So I mean, what if someone wants to swipe over and make a call? I mean, then they can just do that and see all your contacts. So I can see why the phone should be buried there, but it is nice for Android people to now more quickly be able to get into your camera at least. So good job, Google, there. Another big thing is notifications have definitely taken front stage in Android L, in that for the first time, for something that's been on iOS since iOS 5, I think, notifications on the lock screen that people can dynamically access, read, and respond to. What have you been doing for so long, Android? Seriously, I'm not even an Android user, and I kind of feel for you guys because that's pretty stupid that it has to wait for 7 generations for you to finally get your rear end gear to put notifications that people can actually respond to instead of having to log into your phone and pull it down and look at it. Really? So yeah, you can tap on the notification, you can swipe to the left and dismiss it, and you can tap on it to open it up. It's really very similar to iOS, but finally notifications on lock screen. So good job, Google, way to go, it's about time. They're also increasing voice enabling, more of the OK Google, just being able to increase the functionality, pretty much like Apple's been doing with Siri, but just enabling voice commands because it's something people want to do without always having to touch their phone, just being able to talk to it and have it do something. And finally, more contextual awareness. Your phone is going to be more aware of where you go, what you do, and how it should respond. Which for some people might seem a little creepy, but for people who are using it on a daily basis, it's pretty cool. Google has already been doing this for a while with their Google cards, but they're refining it and making it easier so that it also has to do with security. So if you say you're at your job and your phone is in your cubicle, well then you may want to have it so that you can just swipe into it without having to enter the passcode every time because that can get annoying. But if you say you're out on the street or walking around or whatever, you definitely want that because if you ever get it lost or stolen or whatever, you don't want someone just getting in your phone automatically. So it recognizes places where you are and then you can set up security profiles for each. Also another interesting thing is security with wearables. So say your phone is right next to your watch, so whether it's on the desk right next to your wrist or in your pocket or whatever, it can tell distance. So if it's near the wristwatch, then it knows that you two are together and it's safe to just leave it unlocked and you can use it regularly. But if you walk away with your wristwatch on your wrist and your phone left somewhere, then it knows, hey, gotta lock it down again. So that's kind of a cool feature. We'll see how it actually plays out with wearables, with not, with actual use and how practical this is, but it is definitely a cool feature that I think Apple could take a look at as well, of more contextual awareness and security along with that. And finally is just the overall theme of the conference was Android everywhere. Whether it's on your TV with Android TV, whether it's on your wrist with Android Wear, whether it's on your computer or other mobile devices with Chrome or Chromecast, whether it's on your devices, whether it's Android on the phone or Android on the tablet. Just creating a universal ecosystem just like Apple, which I think is great. Everybody should have competition, everybody should have features that complement and each other and just make overall, if you buy Android, you should be able to use it on your phone, your tablet, your computer, and your TV just seamlessly, just like you can do on Apple. So great job, Android. You're kind of finally getting the picture and making just an easy to use system for everybody across the board. So good job. If you want some more in-depth information and hands-on of the new Android L operating system, go ahead and check out my buddy MKBHD's video here. He does some review and hands-on experience with the developer preview on his Nexus 5, which I don't have. So yeah, go check out his video. It's pretty cool. And now we're going to do some rapid-fire Apple news. So over the last couple weeks, Apple has introduced a couple new products. The first off is their iPod Touch line. They introduced a new version, or really what they should have done a long time ago, in that it's a 16 gig model, not hamstrung or cut down at all. The old 16 gig version of the iPod Touch 5th generation, if you didn't know, did not have a rear-facing camera, and it was a little bit slower and but also a lot cheaper. Then you had the 32 and the 64 gig models at a higher price point, but with all the features. Now, Apple has finally seen fit to do away with that, and that they are releasing a 16 gig model that's the exact same as the 32 and 64 gig. Yes, same specs, same performance, rear-facing camera, and all the same colors as all three models, so they are all the same. Also, finally, a price drop. The 16 gig model is now $200. The 32 gig model is $250, and the 64 gig model is only $300, which is a nice price drop for the other two and a nice entry point for the 16 gig model. So great job, Apple. It's about time. The other new product that Apple introduced was a new 21.5-inch iMac, so their smaller screen version. It is introduced at a price point of $1,100. So what are you getting for this low price point? Well, first of all, you're getting a dual-core i5 1.4 gigahertz Intel processor, which can overclock to 2.7 gigahertz with turbo boost. Interestingly enough, this processor is actually the same one that they use on their MacBook Air 13-inch. So if you've had a MacBook Air 13-inch, that's the exact same performance you're going to be getting out of this. However, there is going to be more RAM, 8 gig, but that's the only option. You can only get 8 gig and it's soldered to the board, so you can never upgrade it. So if you want more, you are going to have to go on to the next version, but more on that later. As for storage, there is a 500 gig hard drive included, but you can upgrade that to a 1 terabyte, a 1 terabyte Fusion drive, or a 256 gig SSD. So plenty of storage options, but the processor and the RAM are non-upgradable and stuck at that performance level. So, is it worth it? Well, for some people it could be, yeah. It's a nice lower-end machine that people can get into. They can surf the web, they can do movie editing or sound editing with GarageBand or iMovie with the iLife suite. You can do anything that you can do on the MacBook Air, because pretty much it is just a MacBook Air with a 21.5-inch screen. So, it's a great low-end Mac at a pretty acceptable price point. That being said, do not consider it if you want to do any performance type stuff. If you're going to do a lot of intense or real video editing or gaming or whatever, spend the extra $200, get the higher end processor, the upgradable RAM, etc. Make sure you can change stuff up in the future. Don't get stuck with this. But if you're just getting into Macs, this is a great product at a great price point, so good job, Apple. So yeah guys, those are some of the top tech stories and news today. Let me know in the comment box down below, what do you think? What about Android? Android wearables or the new Android operating system? Do you like the new UI? Is it going to be way different and horrible, or do you think it's about time? What about the new features? Or what about the new iMac or iPod Touch? Do you think that these are great new products, or that it's just about time, or whatever? Let me know in the comment box down below. So yeah guys, thanks for watching. Remember to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe so that you know whenever I post new videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!